Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. It's a fight that's going to go down this Saturday, July 19th, and it's a fight that I'm very, very excited for, ladies and gentlemen. In my honest opinion, I think it's going to be 3-0. It's going to be 3-0. I think Dustin Poirier is going to get this fight done, in my honest opinion. I think that he is going to get the dub, and I think it's going to be pretty much the same song and dance as last time. Max Holloway pressing forward and Dustin Poirier doing a good job at baiting Max Holloway into becoming offensive so that he could counter. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done since Max Holloway right now is again moving up to lightweight. You know, the last time that we saw Max Holloway, he got knocked out by Ilia Topuria, and he is going to be moving back to lightweight. I think that he performed pretty decently the last time that we saw him perform at lightweight. That was against Justin Gaethje, and he was able to knock him out. I just don't see it being the same thing as him beating Justin Gaethje. I just don't see how he has a similar performance, in my honest opinion. Now, that's not to say that Max Holloway won't give Dustin Poirier easy fight, because he definitely won't. I definitely do see that Max Holloway will have some great moments, but I just think that Dustin Poirier is a fighter, in my honest opinion, that does very, very well at being a offensive counter striker. And the reason why I say offensive counter striker is because he is pretty much really, really elite at, landing counters as his opponents are trying to become offensive. And in the open stance, Dustin Poirier is a fighter that's been tried so many times, and is a guy that has had a lot of success. I mean, Dustin Poirier is 30-9 in his professional career, fighting in the open stance primarily, and I honestly really do think that Dustin Poirier is gonna, pretty much have his way against Max Holloway. In the open stance, I've said this before, that pretty much being a fighter that's aggressive is pretty much counterintuitive, is almost like an oxymoron, to be a completely offensive fighter, being a southpaw. And I just don't think that too many people out there are saying this, but Dustin Poirier isn't 100% an offensive beast. He's not just pressing forward the entire time. He does take, really smart disengagements, and he does take really, really smart repositions. And that's what I think is going to happen against Max Holloway. Like I said, Max Holloway is going to press forward. He's going to try to land as much as possible. And Dustin Poirier is going to take some punches, and he is going to get hurt, but I just do think that in the span of 5 rounds, Dustin Poirier is going to go ahead and win this fight. I do see him winning, the majority of the rounds, and I think that Max Holloway, he pretty much is taking a big risk, fighting Dustin Poirier in this one. And honestly, it's a smart risk. It's a good risk for Max Holloway, because let's just say that Max Holloway does beat Dustin Poirier. It's gonna put him up there again in conversation for fighting for the belt. And who wouldn't want to see Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria? At some point again, the rematch would be pretty big. If you ask me personally, I think that Max Holloway would probably need another win in the lightweight division for that to happen. And there are some pretty interesting names out there. So one of the names that just comes to mind, and this is just like a hypothetical thing, because like I said, I just don't see how Max Holloway beats Dustin Poirier. But let's just go out and say that if Max Holloway does beat Dustin, I think that a fight should definitely go down between Max and Justin Gaethje. Let's just be honest. That's a really, really good fight. And it would be a good matchup for Justin Gaethje, because in my honest opinion, right now he just doesn't have that really good of an argument as to why he should even be anywhere near close to the title. It just doesn't make any sense for Justin Gaethje to fight for the title. Everyone's saying that that win against Fiziev is not that good of a win, because Fiziev was coming off a career-ending injury. Let's just be honest, an ACL tear, that's an injury that a lot of people just don't come back from, period, and Justin Gaethje beating a guy who hasn't fought in like almost 2 years and was coming off an ACL tear, is not that really, really good of a win. And he already beat him previously, and that's not a good reason as to why Justin Gaethje should even be anywhere near the title. I mean, let's just be honest. So if Max Holloway by some miracle beats Dustin Poirier, he should definitely be asking to fight Max Holloway next. Justin Gaethje should definitely be like bitching about that instead of bitching to the UFC that he deserves a title shot or he threatens to retire or whatever dumb shit he's been saying. But in my honest opinion, I think that would be a really, really good fight. And in my honest opinion as well, I mean, this is just me being personally, it would be a great showing for Justin Gaethje if he does manage to beat Max Holloway, but I just really don't see it in my honest opinion. The last time that we saw Max Holloway against Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway was just having his way with him the entire freaking time, and it just seems like Max Holloway's a completely different beast whenever he is fighting at lightweight. And I think that he could probably have a different performance against Ilya if he is, fighting like 10 pounds heavier. But that's just my take on that one. There is another name that I would like to see Max Holloway fight against, if he does get the chance. And like I said, by some miracle, does beat Dustin Poirier. And that name, ladies and gentlemen, is Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker, in my honest opinion, is a guy that could be a potentially good matchup for Max Holloway. Not in the sense of skill, but in the sense of pure entertainment, because we all know that both of these guys are just going to come forward and try to land as much as possible, as often as possible throughout 5 rounds. We could expect a war between Max Holloway and Dan Hooker. That would be great TV. It would be great pay-per-view. How would you guys not want to see, Max Holloway versus Dan Hooker? That would be an amazing fight without a doubt. And if let's just say, Max Holloway does get a win over Dustin Poirier, he's probably a win away from potentially fighting for the title again. I just see that he could potentially be fighting Justin Gaethje or Dan Hooker next. Those fights would be absolutely insane. They would do great numbers for the UFC, and I think that those are fights that the fans would definitely like to see, because right now the light heavyweight, or not the light heavyweight, but the lightweight division is definitely skyrocketing, is definitely getting that attention it was getting a couple of years ago, as it being, the best that the UFC has to offer. And I think I agree with that sentiment without a doubt. Right now, the most entertaining and the best, entertainment possible is coming from the lightweight division without a doubt. Now, the next guy that I have on this list for potential matchups for Max Holloway, if he does get through Dustin Poirier, in my honest opinion, would probably be Arman Tsarukyan. I think that Arman Tsarukyan is just waiting to see how the landscape of the lightweight division goes down before he goes ahead and makes a move. I did say a couple of videos ago that he should probably fight Paddy Pimblett for a #1 contenders for Ilia Topuria. But in my honest opinion, I think that if Arman Tsarukyan does go ahead and fight the #10 ranked fighter in the lightweight division, that would just be a really, really bad look, because there is a list of guys, that are literally ranked right under him that deserve to have a shot for a #1 contenders fight. And I think that Arman Tsarukyan probably calls out Max Holloway if Max Holloway does get through Dustin Poirier, because then he would be in the top 5 or literally be ranked top 5. And yeah, Arman Tsarukyan is obviously a win away from fighting for the belt. Fighting for the belt again after he got that opportunity with Islam Makhachev before he pulled out. I think that name, Max Holloway, getting that name on that resume would be pretty significant for him. And I just think that right now he's just waiting for the landscape to change a little bit. Not saying that Max Holloway would be an easy win, but let's just be honest. If Arman Tsarukyan versus Max Holloway does get placed at some point in time, I am picking Arman Tsarukyan to win, and obviously he's going to be doing a lot of crotch sniffing and a lot of wrestling and a lot of grappling. But that's just the way that I think, he could get a dub over Max Holloway, in my honest opinion. And getting a name, like I said, Max Holloway on your resume could be a good argument as to why, Arman Tsarukyan should be fighting for the title next, even though he's already the #1 contender. I mean, Dana White has said it himself. Pretty much everybody is aware of this, that Arman Tsarukyan has to fight, once before getting a title shot, after fucking up that opportunity for fighting Islam Makhachev prior to him, pulling out of that fight. But that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Pretty much to sum everything up, I do think that Dustin Poirier does beat Max Holloway, but by some miracle, if Max Holloway does beat Dustin Poirier, I think that, he should probably fight Justin Gaethje, maybe Dan Hooker, or even Arman Tsarukyan, so that he could give himself a good argument as to why he should fight Ilia Topuria next for the title. But that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.